Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Planet B podcast, which is titled Our Planetary Home on Fire. Dr. Rao, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you for this opportunity to do a deep dive on the chapters in the book.
Dr. Rao, I have to say, this is one of my favorite chapters of the book because the 9 planetary boundaries are so important, and I think, at least for me, someone outside of the science side of this, it was such an eye-opener to see the environmental impact of Planet A.
Right, yeah, and thank you for that. Yeah, it's all based on the Planetary Health Check report. And I think when I wrote this, there were only 6 planetary boundary transgressions. And this year, the 7th one got transgressed as well. But it's in the same order in which I wrote.
Right. So in the opening paragraph of chapter 4, you make a bold claim. You say, quote, "Our planet is truly on fire." What do you mean by this statement?
If you think of a fire, it's a transformation that's happening, right? So something is burning and the temperature is really, really high. Now, at any given point in time, there are fires going on around our planet, right? And it's been like that way, not from the beginning. It's not like we just, it's just happening today, okay, like that. But we have increased the number of fires on the planet. Humans are causing, I think, 95% of the fires on the planet through human. Yeah. So if you look at all the wildfires, 95% of the wildfires are coming from human sources, not from natural sources, not from lightning. So we have increased the fires on the planet. So our planet is truly on fire. Okay? Now, have we gotten to a point of increasing the fires so much that nature is amplifying the fires herself? And that's where we are. It's that critical point where we say the fires that we started, the fires that we created, is too much. And we need to hold back, and we start bringing back the greenery. Because the rainforest does not catch fire. Even if you try to set it on fire, it won't catch fire. But you have to cut down all the trees and dry them and then burn them. And that's what we've been doing in the rainforest, in order to turn the rainforest into grazing land for our cows, or turn the rainforest into land in which you can grow soya beans. We have to cut down the trees, wait for them to dry out, and then burn them. Or pour some, gasoline on them and burn them after you cut them down.
Right. So you've been working in the climate arena since 2006. So in 2026, that'll be 20 years. Right. So over the 20 years that you've been working in climate, how has the situation changed? How has the climate crisis changed?
Well, climate to me is a symptom. It's actually, there's a larger issue that we need to address. Okay, and that larger issue is basically Planet A's unsustainable human engineered systems that are in conflict with the life support systems. So it's a systems issue. That's what I've been studying. And right from the outset, I was looking at climate as the fever that the Earth has. Whereas there is a cancer, there's a heart disease, there's a diabetes, there's all these other issues that we need to address. And it's really about a lifestyle transformation that needs to happen for us to be in alignment with the life support systems of the planet. So 20 years, I've been watching it get worse and worse and worse. And I can see the exponential growth in the disease that the earth has. But I know that all of this can be reversed if we just live differently than the way we are living today.
Right. And then it seems like scientists kind of put a framework around planetary issues in 2009 with the 9 planetary boundaries. So do you mind sharing the origin of the 9 planetary boundaries and how they came about?
Yeah, the 9 planetary boundaries were introduced at the Stockholm Resilience Center and the Potsdam Institute of Climate Research. And Stockholm Resilience Center is in Sweden, and the Potsdam Institute for Climate Research is in Germany. And they wrote this paper, it's a very important paper, in 2009, proposing this 9 planetary boundaries as a way to look at the life support systems of the Earth. So these planetary boundaries, if you are in the green zone, in the planetary boundaries, the Earth is healthy. If you are in the orange zone or yellow zone, then it has gone outside the safe zone, but it's not yet alarming. If it's orange, it's becoming alarming. If it's in the red zone, it means that it can potentially kill life as we know it on the planet. Okay? And then they had the purple zone, which means that it's at a high risk of destabilizing the life support systems of the planet. So they color-coded it. Now, these are all estimates based on science, based on watching the systems get worse and worse and worse over time. And you say, okay, maybe we are in the purple zone on this. Maybe we are in the red zone on something. So they color-coded everything. And this is the best we have of system science to analyze the life support systems of the planet. So think of the systems engineers and these system scientists who are analyzing the life support systems of the planet as the planetary health doctors.
I like that. Yeah.
So they are planetary doctors who are saying the planet has diseases. And these are the 7 diseases that the planet has. Okay, so they have come up with 7 planetary boundary transgressions.
Sure. So if you don't mind, let's go through title
Yeah.
and the definition of each of the 9.
Right.
So start
Okay.
wherever that you'd like.
Now I start in the same order that's there in the chapter. It's basically in the order of importance of what we have done today. Okay. So the most important, the one that we have impacted the most, is biosphere integrity. So it is the integrity of the biodiversity on the planet, on all the wildlife on the planet, and it's dying out. And as we discussed in the last chapter, 90% of wild animals are gone. Extinction rates of species is estimated to be 1,000 to 10,000 times the background rate.
So can you explain what that means, please?
It means that in nature, if we were not doing our thing, if we were just observers and not doing anything to the planet, you would observe species dying out and new species being born at the rate of something like 0.1 to 1 per year, per million species. So that's the rate. Okay.
Right.
So anywhere from 0.1 to 1. That's how much new species will be born every year for every 100 million species on the planet. And that's how much species will die out. Now we are killing something like 100 to 1,000 species a day.
Wow. A day. So that's every single day.
Every single day. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So we are killing them at a rate that's 1,000 to 10,000 times the background rate.
So all of that is fueled by humanity's Planet A systems.
Correct. How are we doing that? Well, we wipe out an entire millions of acres of forest. So think of how fast we are destroying forests. Now, there are unique species that die out when we wipe out a forest. And that's why the estimate is 100 species per day that we're wiping
And
out, right?
and I know that you've mentioned, Dr. Rao, that those are just, I'm sorry if I misterm it, but those are the species that we can see. But there are many more potentially that the microorganisms or the smaller species that aren't even counted in that.
Correct. These are the species that we know of, meaning we know that there are so many microorganisms, species, and so on. So these are estimates that people have made, scientists have made on how many species there are in a given area of a forest. There may be other species that we don't know about. Again, science keeps progressing, right? We understand more and more. So before we even understand something, before we even understand how a system is put together, we're destroying it. To me, a sign of intelligence is the ability to adapt to changing environmental circumstances. So now we have to show that we are truly an intelligent species, because right now we are not acting like we're intelligent. We are acting like a child throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
I want that, I want this,
Mm.
and grabbing it because we can. Right? That's how we are acting.
It's very true.
So we have to now become more of an adult species. Okay? That's gotten over the tantrum phase, the teenager phase of showing how strong we are and all this, and becoming more mature, an adult species that's addressing the problems it's facing. Because we cannot expect any other species to solve these problems. See, once you analyze these problems and you understand as a doctor, a planetary health doctor, you understand what the planet is going through. Yeah, you realize that it's only us who can solve it. So you understand the importance of our species. I say we found our place in the ecosystems of the planet. Until now, we thought this is just a plaything, right? We can do whatever we want. The planet will be fine, and we are just enjoying ourselves on the planet. Those who can are enjoying themselves. There are others who are suffering because of our enjoyment. And now we realize that those who are enjoying ourselves, as we learn more and more, we realize how critical it is that we use our knowledge not for enjoyment, but for actually supporting the planet. Now, the biosphere integrity and novel entities has both been rated as high risk of destabilizing the life support systems of the planet. Now, what is this novel entities? We human beings have created new molecules, new substances that the earth had never seen before. With our chemical processes, with our industrial processes. And we have been pouring them out into the earth. For example, dioxin. Dioxins are some of the strongest carcinogens known to man. And dioxins are produced when we bleach hydrocarbons. So what are hydrocarbons? Anything in life is a hydrocarbon. Okay. So we take a tree and we turn that tree's bark into pulp in order to make paper. Now that pulp is a hydrocarbon. It's basically water and the tree all ground up. Now, usually a tree is brown. But we have a system on planet A that says that white is pure and brown is dirty.
So strange.
Yeah. Right? So we all prefer, the system prefers everything to be white.
At all costs.
At all costs. Including taking that brown pulp and bleaching it with chlorine in order to make it white. So in our paper mills, we are routinely bleaching wood pulp to turn it into white paper. And when you bleach a hydrocarbon, you put chlorine on a hydrocarbon, the result is dioxin. So our paper mills are all pouring dioxin into the environment, into the atmosphere. And these are some of the strongest carcinogens known to man. And this is why we situate paper mills far away from cities or in poor neighborhoods in cities. Because, we don't want the rich people breathing the dioxin. But guess what happens? That dioxin goes up into the atmosphere and then comes down in the rain. Everywhere. Okay? And it's now in the plants. Because it's in the water. When it comes down in the rain, it's in the water. And the plants are absorbing the water and they're filtering the water. So they're storing the dioxin in their trunks, in their stalks. The trees have it in their trunks, the plants have it in their stalks. And then we feed the plants to the animals. And the animals store the dioxin in their fat tissues. They concentrate it and store it in their fat tissues. The statistic is that the amount of dioxin you get in 1 liter of milk is greater than the amount of dioxin that the cow could have breathed standing next to a paper plant in 1 year.
Wow.
Because that's how concentrated it becomes over time. And so we are marinating the earth in all this chemical pollution. So the amount of chemical pollution we put into the earth every year is 220 billion tons per year. A ton is the weight of an elephant. It's 1,000 kgs. It's 2,200 pounds. So 220 billion tons is 220 billion elephants worth of chemical pollution going out into the environment every year.
I mean, that's just no words like for something like that. It's just shocking.
And I look around and say, what am I buying that causes that? Of course, toilet paper, all these things count. Right? That's where it comes from. We have to now re-engineer everything. First of all, to say, hey, brown is okay. It doesn't have to be white. Okay?
Certainly.
Right? Accept things as they are, as much as possible. And then figure out how to minimize how much chemical you have to put into the environment for our needs. If you put chemicals out into the environment, make sure that it is already natural chemicals that the earth knows what to do with. Because these are all novel chemicals. And the earth is marinating in these novel chemicals. And animals are dying because of that. Life is dying because of that.
All right. So now let's go to the third, which is nitrogen and phosphorus loading. So what exactly does that mean?
It means, the earth has a process for cycling nutrients. It takes, it composts things. How does it compost things? Well, it takes something that's dying and then it retains part of that in the soil and the rest it sends up into the atmosphere. And there's a cycle for nitrogen that happens as a result of that. Nitrogen is fundamental building block for proteins. Right? So there are nitrogen fixing plants that take nitrogen from the atmosphere, they fix nitrogen, and that becomes input for other plants in the soil.
People will say nitrogen is healthy. It helps vegetables grow and things like that.
Well, basically it provides the protein that's in the vegetables. It provides the protein that's in the plants. All plant foods have protein. Okay, so the protein is basically a nitrogen building block. Now, when a plant dies, that nitrogen goes back into the atmosphere. Okay. Now, what we have been doing is we are pouring nitrogen fertilizers on plants to make them grow fast. And that we are pouring so much that there is an excess runoff that happens. So all the excess from the soil runs off in the water into water bodies. And it over-fertilizes the bottom of rivers and the bottom of the ocean at the mouths of rivers. And it causes the plants to grow so fast that the oxygen in the water gets depleted. When the oxygen in the water gets depleted, the fish die. So it's like, anything in excess is poison. We all know
Right.
that. So
Yeah.
we are causing an excess of nitrogen to flow into the water, and it's poisoning the water, literally, and the fish are dying because of that.
Hmm. And where's the phosphorus then coming from?
It's also from the same fertilizers, right?
From the
Nitrogen
same.
and phosphorus, yeah. So they've estimated that the nitrogen cycle has been impacted far worse than the phosphorus cycle. But otherwise, both of them are done through the same mechanism of creating artificial fertilizers and growing the plants really fast.
And then that would majorly stem back to animal agriculture,
Correct,
right?
yeah. Because half of the crops that we grow are going to feed our animals. And the animals are doing a 39-to-1 reduction in the food that they get before it comes to our
Unbelievable.
plate. Yeah. So if we go vegan, we can immediately cut down on our nitrogen and phosphorus use by at least half. Right? And eventually, I think we need to convert all our agricultural processes into organic processes, with natural nitrogen fixing soil. So basically, go back to the way our ancestors used to do things, like, grow a bean, corn, and squash together, the three sisters
Right.
together.
Yeah.
Now, it's hard to go and harvest that with machines, which is why we want to have monocultures. And when you do monocultures, you have to do this kind of stuff, right? Pouring fertilizers to make them grow. Whereas
Right.
if you grow the bean and the squash and the corn together, the three sisters together, the bean fixes nitrogen in the soil for the corn to grow, and the squash attracts insects to come and pollinate. Because the squash has these big flowers that attract insects. This is why the three sisters work very well together.
Sounds like a beautiful system to me.
It's a beautiful system, but it requires us to go and harvest by hand. Or you have to figure out how to get robots to go and harvest them, properly.
Yeah.
Which is also an interesting project to build, if you want
Yeah.
to do that. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so now let's go on to the fourth. So we talked a little bit about it, but the fourth planetary boundary is climate change.
Correct, yeah. So it's the fourth worst transgression, and to me it's the fever that the earth has. And it's actually causing the weather systems to change everywhere. And so we are discovering, things are changing around us. So it's the one thing that we all feel. This is why we know about it more. Biodiversity loss is happening somewhere else, right? Chemical pollution is happening all around us, but it's invisible to us. Of course, we see it in our health deteriorating because we're eating all these dioxin-laden foods and we're getting cancer. But no one is telling us it's because of the dioxin we put into the environment. So this is why we don't know yet what is the root cause, right? So we don't understand the chemical pollution of the planet directly. Right. Nitrogen and phosphorus loading, we don't understand it directly. It's happening in the rivers, it's happening in the ocean. Climate change is happening around us. This is why we're able to see it. Now there are other people will say that this climate change is not caused by us. It's caused by natural forces. And I'm saying, when you're doing things that are impacting the environment, you can expect the environment to respond. So climate change has a distinct human fingerprint.
Some people, I hear they say that like the warming that we're currently dealing with now is a natural rhythm, and the planet has certain periods over a long period of time where it warms. What would be your response to that?
Well, there are theories. You have to come up with the underlying theories for why things happen. And those theories have to hold together with all the observational data. Now, the theory of anthropogenic climate change, which scientists have been working on, does hold well together. And it shows that there is an explanation for it based on greenhouse gases, and based on greenhouse gases being the catalytic converters of water vapor on the planet. And that's what causes the climate to change rapidly. Now, the people have come up with other theories, like, there is clouds causing, there is a cloud that's causing this to happen, and it's the change in the cloud formation that's causing that to happen. And it's all from natural, the sun causing that to happen. Now, those theories don't hold well together. There are lots of things that they cannot explain. And there's a whole, science debate that's happening around it. Now, to me, that's secondary. I'm a systems engineer. I don't look at the science very deeply. I look at every aspect of the systems. That how do you solve them based on the current understanding of science? I do know that once we start implementing it, we may have to adapt based on new information that comes out. So we have to have that humility to know that you may not know everything to begin with. Right?
Yeah.
So climate change to me is a fever that the Earth has, and we know we are measuring the fever. We know that her temperature has gone up, and there is a plausible explanation that is due to human causes, and that explanation tells us that when we restore forests, the temperature will come down.
All right, which goes right into the next boundary. So the fifth planetary boundary would be land system change.
Correct, yeah. So we have changed the land systems by basically chopping down trees. We have cut down half the trees on the planet. There used to be 6 trillion trees. Now there are only 3 trillion trees. And we have basically chopped down forests and turned the forests into grazing land for our animals. Okay? And that's how we have caused this land system to change. Now, when we restore the ecosystems of the planet, we'll be bringing back the trees that we cut. And if the current climate change theory is correct, you will see the temperature come down as you reduce the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And the trees suck up that excess greenhouse gases. Okay? Now, if the temperature does not come down, then we have to have a different explanation for it. Then we can look for why is that the case. So this is why I say that whether you're arguing about climate change being a natural phenomenon or a human caused phenomenon, you need to support the transformation to a vegan world as quickly as possible. Okay, there should be no daylight between us on that. Okay? And once we implement that, we can go back to that other argument. Is it caused by human beings or is it caused by... And we will see that. We will understand that right away.
Right. So going to the next one. So the sixth would be freshwater change.
Correct, yeah. So we have dammed the rivers. We have interfered with the water cycle of the planet by cutting down forests. Forests are part of the water cycle of the planet. So the planet has a system for converting salt water into fresh water and to purify the water through plants and trees. So we have interfered in that system, and that change in the freshwater cycles of the planet is causing animals to die. And that's the sixth planetary boundary, that transgression. And again, to restore the freshwater cycles of the planet, if we go vegan and we bring back the forest that we cut, you will restore the freshwater cycles of the planet. So it repairs that as well. So that's going vegan addresses all of these transgressions. You know, that's why it is the first step that we need to take worldwide.
Right. So just going through the last three, which they relate to the first six, really. So the last three are ocean acidification, atmospheric aerosol loading, and stratospheric ozone depletion. Maybe you just want to go through those quickly each.
Right. Ocean acidification. The ocean is becoming more acidic as we increase the CO2 in the atmosphere. The CO2 dissolves in the ocean water and becomes carbonic acid, and that acid makes the ocean more and more acidic. When the ocean becomes more acidic, the shelled animals are not able to create their own shells, and therefore they start dying out. Right? And that impacts the bottom of the food chain. And so then the ocean starts dying. So the ocean acidification has now been rated as violating. It's not in the green zone anymore. It's now in the yellow zone. So it just crossed the boundary. The seventh boundary is ocean acidification. Right. Atmospheric aerosol loading is when we burn fossil fuels, we are causing sulfur dioxide and other aerosols to be put into the atmosphere. And that can come down as acid rain and kill life, right? And that is not yet in the yellow zone. It's still in the green zone. So we haven't yet crossed the boundary on that. But the more fossil fuels you burn, the more you're going to cause that to transgress. To address that, you have to first, change the system so that you don't need that much energy, right? And then we can address that automatically. So we have to get rid of growth as a master objective in our system. So I'll go through all of that in later chapters.
Wonderful. And then last one, stratospheric ozone depletion.
Yeah, stratospheric ozone depletion is caused mainly by chlorofluorocarbons being used in our systems. It's again a chemical pollution, right? It's part of the chemical pollution. And that particular chemical goes up there into the stratosphere and then depletes the ozone. So it creates holes in the ozone layer. And the ozone layer is shielding us from ultraviolet radiation that would kill us. When the ozone hole was discovered in the 80s, they found it was caused by chlorofluorocarbons, and DuPont was one of the main manufacturers of that chemical. And DuPont came up with an alternate chemical that does the same function for refrigeration, but that doesn't cause the ozone hole to be depleted. And so they substituted that chemical in new refrigerators. And it was a solution that allowed us to grow the economy. This is why it was implemented immediately. So the ozone hole is now closing over time. We are seeing it close, and therefore it's no longer in the yellow zone. It's in the green zone now.
All right. So when you go through, there's the 9 planetary boundaries. Currently, we've transgressed 7 since 2009. But the interesting thing is these are all very intricately linked, and there's one tie back that you highlight so clearly in There Is a Planet B.
Right. Yeah, these are all self-reinforcing feedbacks in different systems. And when they started the analysis in 2009, there were 3 transgressions in 2009. It became 4 transgressions in 2015, 6 transgressions in 2023, and 7 transgressions in 2025. So I see this as the planetary fire growing, right? And so I see the planetary boundary transgressions picture itself as a fire around the planet. And and that you can actually put out the fire if you go vegan. If all of us go vegan, we can address all 7 of the planetary boundary transgressions simultaneously. Okay? And then as we change to a Planet B system, you will make sure that all planetary boundaries stay in the green zone forever. That is how you need to design a new system. That it allows us to monitor the planetary boundaries and stay in the green zone forever. It addresses our human health issues. It addresses our social justice issues. It's like, I see nature as the perfect system design. And nature has told us, if you're compassionate to all life, I'll let you live.
That's so simple.
Right. Yeah.
So if humanity decides to make the vegan change, how quickly will these 7 of the 9 planetary boundary transgressions be fixed or at least move in the right direction?
Or they will all start moving in the right direction right away. But it's how fast will they do it? Or have we done something that has gone beyond the point of no return? Okay. And so I'm most concerned about the first two, biosphere integrity and novel entities, the chemical pollution. Will we be able to absorb all the chemical pollution with the new trees that we plant?
Right.
And then will we stop putting 30 elephants worth of chemical pollution per person per year? Will that come down? We have to stop that. We have to reduce that as quickly as possible, because the trees cannot absorb over and over. It's not like an infinite sink. It's like you're marinating something in, and it gets marinated so much that it cannot take any more. So those two things we won't know until we actually start trying if we have gone beyond the point of no return or not.
Those 9 are intricately connected, and they've kind of transgressed together, but in different speeds. They could all move back because each of them will be addressed very quickly as well.
It's
through
possible.
veganism.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, but this is the best shot we have.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one has come up and told me, here is another thing we could be doing that will address all 7. No, not a single other idea have I seen that does all 7.
The next chapter, I really hope people stay on for, because it is extremely fascinating. So chapter 7 is a critical look at the UN IPCC's emissions accounting. This one, honestly, it blew my mind. So I'm very excited to talk to you about it, Dr. Rao, and I hope people are excited for that chapter. But as we close podcast episode number 6, talking about the 9 planetary boundaries, is there anything that you'd like to share for a closing message?
I'm excited that we have a chance to solve these problems and become an essential part of this web of life.
Yeah,
So
that's so
thank you
beautiful.
for that.
And thank you, Dr. Rao. So I encourage everyone, read the book, There is a Planet B. Give it to friends. It's very eye-opening. So we'll, of course, continue on. But thank you, Dr. Rao, for all your efforts. And it's a pleasure to be with you on the Planet B podcast.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where empathy scales. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.